EJ's podcast. Let's go! And today, I'll be taking you guys on a very interesting journey. We'll be talking about athletes, especially football players, who ply their trade abroad. How do they cope? Do they succeed easily? Do they go through different challenges? What are the roles of the agents who bring these players? And that's why today we have Mr. Marco on my right. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you very much.
Very happy to have you here. Marco, as we all know, or most people would know, is a very professional agent who is a FIFA licensed agent as well. He has played a major role in bringing a lot of players here, so we'll be hearing a lot from him today. And to my left is Coach Austin. Welcome, Austin.
Thanks.
Happy to have you again on EJ's podcast. But today you're going to be talking about your experiences as a coach. You're a first team coach now, so we'll be happy to hear the things that you have to say. And to my far right is Mr. Korede, who is also an agent, just started his own agency, and he's already representing a few players who are going to be big names in the country. So happy to have you here. You're welcome. All right. Not to take too much of our time, let's just get into it. Marco, what do you think the agents nowadays and the coaches are looking for in players who come here or in any part of Europe?
It's the same for the Finnish players or Swedish players or players, no matter what is the background. Coaches and agents are looking hard-working players who commit themselves for the long term, are ready to work hard in the day-to-day job in their club, and humble personalities who take sports serious.
Humble personalities. So that will divert me to Austin. You've been a coach. He's saying we're looking for hard-working players. Do you think foreign players nowadays, do you think they work hard enough?
Well, that's an interesting question. Like what Marco said, that's the key thing a coach really looks for in a player. And for your question, foreign players coming in, if they work hard, the problem is when they come in here, they have this mentality with them that Finland is an easy throw, that they can just come here and get things so easy. So because of that, it brings out their mentality a little bit down because they don't know much about Finland. Okay. And that's why I said something about the past interview we made. I told you that there's need for orientation to come if you want to come to Finland. Finnish football is not what they think it is.
Before I get to Mr. Cora there, Margaret, you said hard work. Is it important nowadays to just be a hard worker without the talent? Or would you rather pick the talent first? Because I'm asking this because in my own case, you know me for many years. I wasn't the guy who was sleeping in the gym or anything, but there was talent there. And I had to develop that, but I'm not the guy who's going to, be physical and all that. So what would be your opinion on this?
Well, this changed after the late 60s when you left the country. Today it's the same as earlier on your time, that talent opens the door, but today talent opens only one door. So in the case of Nigerian and African player, it opens a door to Europe. And if you don't use the talent, if you don't learn rather quickly the European way of working, then you are wasting your talent and the career is finished.
Cora, what do you have to say about this? He said talent opens the door, which is very true. But also, sometimes I feel like a lot of people without talent, the door just opens and hard work gets them wherever they want to go.
I think talent is relative. So what I think is talent might not necessarily be what you think is talent. So it depends on who is looking at it. But then I think hard working kind of cuts across everything.
Yes.
Like if a player is talented and doesn't work hard enough, just like you said, it kind of opens just the first door and then it doesn't do any other thing. Like for a player to succeed, he has to be talented, he has to be ready to work hard, and then he has to be consistent.
Now, Marco, after signing a player, you see a player, you want to invest in a player. What are the first qualities that you look for when you see a player and you think, okay, because we all know that most African players don't have the necessary backings, the tools to get them here. But you have been someone who has traveled across different places to spot talent. You also have your own company who do that. So what are the things that you really look for in these players?
I would say that 10 years ago I was watching skill and speed, but now the first quality what I try to find out is the personality and mentality. And
Personality and mentality.
and after that comes, of course, today football player need to be quick and physical qualities need to be enough and skillful and understanding of the game. It need to be there, but without personality, the rest
then nothing works.
Yeah.
So as a coach, Austin, what do you say to that? When the players introduce the players, when the agent introduce the players to you as a coach, oh, this is my player, they market them. What do you look for in players like that, notwithstanding your relationship with the agents?
Well, like what Marco said, the mentality is the most important thing. If you're not mentally ready or prepared for the tasks ahead, you cannot achieve or you cannot be successful in this game. No matter how skillful you are, if you don't have that mentality to withstand whatever comes your way, then you cannot be successful. Thinking about a few years back when I used to play, what keeps me going was the mentality.
Yes.
I was not that kind of too great a skillful player. I was physically, but my mental toughness is really on a high thing. That's what pushed me forward in my career. And if a player has such kind of mentality, he's going to go.
So just have a tough mentality and let the personality be as strong as possible. Marco, I'm going to ask you this because you've been somebody who has been on the forefront. Do you think it's the best thing for players who are starting up their careers to start in this part of the world? Because I ask that because I think, personally, I think that when a player starts from here, he has to do it twice. He has to work hard as twice.
I understand your question and what is your idea behind it. Today, when you look to African player transfers from Africa to Europe, it's not many transfers to the big leagues anymore.
Yes,
and the reason for that is that all the big league clubs has their own academies. And also the second clubs has their strong academies, so the player production there is so high. And basically African player can sign to Europe on the age of 18 and come to the systematic training and back home in Africa you don't get it. No. You start to get it on the age of 18. The same age European kid has already been
established
10 years there. So and these big league clubs are also scouting a lot in Europe. So Finnish kids are going to England or Germany, and the same from Sweden. So already in the big clubs academies there is international very tough groups collected from everywhere in the Europe.
Yes.
So for the African player on the age of 18, missing systematic training is very difficult to get in. Yes, it can happen. It sometimes happens when you are really special.
Talent, yeah.
Talent, then you can make it. But reality also for the very good level of African talents today is Scandinavia. I don't only mean Finland, but also Sweden, Denmark, Norway, which is very strong professional leagues.
Cora, you've been an agent who's just getting in the game. Do you share the same opinion and the same ideas as Marco does?
About African players?
About bringing players here first or marketing them in a bigger league. He has told us about the difficulties in getting the big leagues now because of the academy status and all the grassroots, facilities that they have. So, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think I'll go with what he said, and then I'll go with what Coach Austin said too. Like when you consider the competition in this part of the world, and then in England, of course, it's easier to come here.
Yes.
But then, just like he said, the mentality has to change. Like sometimes when they come here, they think, oh, a player playing in probably not even a league in Nigeria believes he's good enough to come and play the Vegas League here. So they really need to change that orientation and kind of humble themselves and okay, now that I'm coming, I have to be ready to work and work very hard.
Mark, let's talk more about this. So we can use one example.
Yes.
Kelechin Vakali was 2015 or 16 chosen the best player in the World Cup under 17.
Yes,
the captain of Nigeria.
Yes, Vakali, yes.
And what happened for his career? He signed to Arsenal.
Yes.
High transfer fee was paid. And when you look what has happened after that, on this moment he's playing Spanish second
division, yeah.
So because when you go to top academy, he was good enough to go there, and probably he was a bit unlucky or whatever, but he couldn't make it there yet. But if he would have chosen another road, let's say good Swedish club, there he would be
would have been a star
king
there.
on his age.
Sure.
But when he goes to Arsenal, he's not king on his age. He's one of 30 other guys.
Yeah.
So I assume that now he would go another way. There is also examples from his own team, Chukwueze, who went to La Liga and he's doing well there. So there is also this kind of cases. But more or less, I see any foreign player, is it Finnish or Nigerian, when you go to foreign country, try to go to a place where you are one of the best, where you are one of the key guys. Then it more often goes up.
So, Austin, Mark was saying basically that it's better for the players to go where they will be able to showcase their talent, which means they can be in a team where the coach will probably depend on them, make them become stars. Because I think as a player, me being a player as well, when the responsibility is on you, you actually develop yourself and you want to get better. Do you share the same opinion that the coach, the player should go where they can actually become kings before stepping into the big markets?
Well, Mark will have his own idea regarding that kind of situation, and I respect that. But my own view regarding this is, I don't look at it that way. I look at it that wherever you find yourself, you should take a big step, like a big role in your career, no matter where you find yourself. Because if you find yourself like in Arsenal or in Scandinavia, once you find yourself in that place, you should do extra in order for you to come out of the team, to become something in that team. Okay, because if you go to a place whereby you're like a king in that role, this is one of the weak points for African players.
Yeah,
you sink into them and
yeah.
Nobody can control them anymore.
That actually leads to the question of, is that one of the reasons why you think African players fail in this part of the world? Complacency. Going to places like, what you said, that it's better to go to a club where you will have more responsibility, you'll be able to shine. But also in situations like that, I think that it makes the players become complacent. Not so much, not so much of hard work needs to be done. Now you're in a place where all the responsibilities, if the team wins, it's on you. So you're like, okay, well, I'm the king here. I don't need to do anything extra. What do you think about that?
I agree what you say, Austin, with that. For some players, it's the situation what they can't handle. You get some goals and then everything goes wrong. But then we come to this question of personality and the quality of the player and his mentality. And the player who behaves this way, normally he will not make it. At least he will not maximize his capacity. You can be a professional, all over level professional, and some way you get the contracts. But with this mentality, in today's top football in Europe, no chance.
What do you think, Cora? What do you think? Do you think it's one of the reasons why players fail in this part of the world?
I think complacency kind of kills everybody. It cuts across all the fields, like whether you're a student, whether you're a footballer or something. So yeah, when you get complacent, then it becomes difficult. And but I think I want to go with what he said about going to a place where you're a king. Between the ages of, let's say, 17 and 20, you need to play all the games if you really want to develop as a player. So, like, and at that age, you kind of make a lot of mistakes as a footballer because it's the developing stage. So, if you go to a place where once you make a mistake, then you are out of the team, then it affects your development. You understand? Like, for example, if you're in Arsenal, for example, like the second team, and then you keep making a mistake in every 3 games, then before the end of the season, someone that will replace you already. But
you're out.
If you're probably in a lower league where they kind of say, okay, it's like our best player, you have the chance to make the mistake. At 18, you should be able to make a mistake and then correct it.
Get better, yeah.
So you play more games, you recover from the mistake, and then you go on from there.
That wording, when I said that to be a king in the team, that was the wrong wording, because it's not good for any young player, no matter of the basketball. But be somebody that you have a role there.
Yeah. You have an importance in the team.
Yeah.
That you're playing a major role there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So now to very, I think it is a very touchy part of most footballers' concern. What do you think should be the percentage that an agent who represents the player should be entitled to? And why do you think the players should, submit themselves. Like, if I'm working with you, for example, I trust you to get me a good deal, right? Nowadays, we're in a climate where the agents, they do the deals mostly that suits them. They're not interested about the development of the players, or is this player going to the right place and all that stuff. So, what do you think as an agent regarding this situation?
In Europe, is thousands of agents. Africa has thousands of agents.
Yes.
So like in every group of human beings, there is different people doing the job.
Yes.
Good people, bad people, and all kind of people. To make agent work interesting for the agent, profitable, because agent is making his living from the agency
job
work
as well. Yes.
So the fee need to be high enough that the agent covers his costs and gets something to eat after that. And in this business, when we come to the case of young African player, before the player travels, let's say in the optimal case, the first day when he becomes 18 years old, he travels to Europe. Before that, agent has probably gone there 2-3 times to see and negotiate and sort something. So let's say easily 10,000 euros is gone.
Yes.
Without any guarantee that you never get it back.
This is actually interesting, because this is the part that people don't really understand.
Yeah.
People don't know, because they think the agent is just sitting there and clicking the fingers and everything is working, and just swallowing the money.
Yeah.
But it's good that you're highlighting that, because I think a lot of young players who are aspiring to travel, or people who are just come, when there is always situation with the agent, people always pointing the fingers back at the agent.
Yeah, and that is just to start. You find a player, you agree the terms with the Nigerian side, the African side, and the next thing is how to find a club for him.
Yes.
So you start proposing him to the clubs, and there is 1,000 other people proposing, I have the next African super kid. So this is the story of what clubs are.
So it's a lot of competition, which the agent really has.
Every day. So after all this, when agent is able to get the player to club, so the 10,000 euro or 15,000 euro can be gone, and you will never can ask from the Finnish club or Swedish, if it is not top club from the first contract. So then this question that what is the reasonable fee or reasonable % for the agent commission, for this reality it don't match. If I represent you go to Premier League, yes, we can agree 3% deal.
Yes.
That's the logical world, and there is some regulations or ideas that agent commission should be no more than 5%, but this comes from the reality of Premier League or the top 5 leagues from Europe. It don't fit
in this
for
every
Finland or Sweden or like this, so
it's
it's difficult to say what is the fair %. And then we come to the other side. Player always expect the full service from the agent. That agent is there when my car is broken or my girlfriend is pregnant or like this, and then you need to be ready to pay about that service.
Yeah, of course, because that's your player. Yeah. So you have to make sure you're protecting their interests at all times. So it goes deeper than that. Koraz, listening to what Mark was saying, you being a young agent, do you think you'll be able to stick your neck out to players in this kind of situation, where he said even before having any proper agreement or any arrangement, there's tens of thousands or tens of thousands of euros going into that? Scouting, accommodating the players. Sometimes the deal don't go through immediately. What do you think about that?
I think there's a lot of misconception about agent and agent fee, and when you look about the Raiolas and people that manage top players, and everybody's like, oh, agent fees just too much. But just like you said, outside the top 5 leagues, then agents go through a lot of things. Like sometimes you have to watch a player like 5 times before you can make a decision.
True.
And that involves a lot of expenses. You make your decision, you have to look for a lot of things for the player. Like, of course, you said you have good and bad agents, and I agree with that. The good agents, you're responsible for everything about the player outside the field. Of course, you cannot go and wear the boot and play for the player.
Yes.
But every other thing outside the field is your responsibility.
It's personal life and everything.
You understand? Like, of course, you're not the dad, but
you still have to
be the first person he calls.
Yeah, when there's trouble.
Now, tell me, if you're looking after someone for like 20 hours a day, how much will you be paid? I'm asking you.
20 hours a day. I mean, you know, here, actually, this is the first time I'm talking about this with Marco, because there's been instances where we've worked together and all that.
I have one more question for you. Like his. As an agent, once I get a goal, African background player in Finland was going to get married. 1 week before the marriage, I get a call from the lady. I heard that this player, this is a second marriage. He's already married back Africa, and he has a family there. So you tell me now, what is the right percent?
Yeah, of course. So now you see questions.
Oh my God!
So
wow,
give me the percent.
Well, I think based on this percentage thing, if I should tip in my own ideas of what I think about that, this percentage thing with agents should be on a neutral ground. Okay. Think about like in the good old days, when you sign a contract with a player, the player has this wrong emotion, these emotions that if I have an agent, the agent takes full responsibility, takes care of my feeding, my clothing, my sports wears, where I train and all those things. But that's the idea those players in the past have, which is a wrong concept. That's just as you need to learn to take care of yourself. The agent cannot buy you football shoes, because I remember, even with Marco, I remember then, a player then, he wants the football shoes, he wants these, he wants training clothes, he wants that, up to this.
He has actually done that.
Stuff. Those are really wrong.
Everything goes through the
I could remember some time ago, Marco brought some players in, and every time they want to call him every 5-10 minutes, and blah. Of course he has. It doesn't mean because he's an agent then he has to baby feed you.
This is a fact, though. This is really a fact, because I know Marco. I mean, there's been instances where he had to buy shoes and even food for some of the players before they get contract. So I think you know, speaking about the percentage.
So when you look at all those things, then,
it's a lot of things.
Tell me, like, how much is even the player making? At the
How
end
much
of
is
the
he
day?
going to get from the player?
Talking about how many agents will get.
Like the FIFA rules, there's a stipulated amount of money that's supposed to be collected by the agent, which every player that have the right orientation knows.
Does that apply here?
It does, but
it should apply everywhere.
Everywhere. But
I mean, if the player is signing for the amount is not anything, how does the agent get that? You know, the regulated amount.
I think
this is why I said it's on a
mutual
mutual ground. It has to have this mutual understanding.
Agree, yeah. There has to be some certain agreement.
Like, do you know that sometimes even agents lose money on these players?
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, like what, you know, like the example you gave, the player comes eventually and things don't work out, then
But
the
then
money is gone.
nobody wants to talk about that.
The player
Money
definitely
are
won't.
spent.
All right, moving on. What do you think about the time? Because the timing of the season and the weather here, does that affect not just here in places like Sweden, in Russia, but I think the here especially because of the transfer timing, the time that the season starts and finishes. As agents, this has to be it has to be difficult to market a player if the season finishes here in October, and then the next window starts in January. I mean, it must be a big challenge for you.
It is when we come to the African players, because typically the clubs are signing for the new season.
Yeah.
It means that the signing happens after the finishing season.
Yes.
It means now, October to January. And if the African player is coming first time here this time of the year, it must be a shock.
A shock.
It must be a shock.
A shock. No, it is. We're laughing because it was a shock for us.
But until now, nobody has died. So it's not so big shock.
So it's not so bad. Cora, do you think, I mean, you as an agent, would you, I mean, I don't know, because I just keep wondering how do agents market their players in this kind of, situation where the window finishes and then we have to wait, like you said, for the most African players, it's a big shock coming, the weather, and the time to wait and all of that. If, for example, you have a player who has finished the season as a top scorer and he wants to play his trade abroad or somewhere else, and now you cannot really market him immediately because you need to wait till January. So that's like, how do you, as an agent, that must be frustrating.
I think the best thing to do in that situation would be to kind of have some. If the player will going for trials or something, like you have to make that arrangement
within that period
before the end of the season, so that once the season finishes, the player can actually go to the club. Because if the player finishes his season in October and then is going for trials in January, that's like 3 months difference. And within 3 months, the player can actually lose a lot of things, the form, the touch, and stuff like that. So I think the best thing would be immediately after October, like probably you already arranged something from August or something. So from October, it goes there, even if it's a week or something, you get the trials, like let them have a feel of who the player really is, instead of waiting till January when the transfer window opens.
I'm sure you on the coaching part, you probably want to hold on to the players as long as possible, because it must be a different situation for you if your player has to be sold towards the end of the season or just right when the season is about to finish.
Yeah, well, it depends. Like what Marco said, players from Africa coming in the transfer market time, like in the Scandinavia side part of the world, it's a bit cold and things like that. And he said shock, players get shocked. For me, from the coaching aspect, I think a coach should understand that coming from Africa to this part of the world, the player needs time to adjust.
Yeah.
So if the player is being marketed to me as a good player, I just need 2, 3, just a week to see if he has the potential I'm looking for, and then the rest. Obviously, you don't have a perfect player. There's no such thing as being perfect. So a coach needs to have the vision to see that, yeah, I can develop this player to become something great. If I see he has that passion for me, if he has that potential, then it's time for me to now to start to adjust, help him to get adapted. Okay, but the thing is, football, nobody has that kind of time. Football is big business now. Nobody wants to start to nurture a baby until it grows. No,
especially a professional.
Yeah, so it depends on how the agent market the player and what the coach thinks about the player. But in my own aspect, if I see the player, I just need 3, 4 days to see. One game, I can assess him that, okay, even if he has a bad game, I see his touch.
You can still see the quality,
Then I can see that, yeah, I can team this player. It's all good for me.
Let's talk more about this. Austin is very right. Today, more higher you go with the clubs, top clubs in Finland, top clubs in Sweden, these clubs don't give time when the new player comes. So that's why market has created mechanisms for this. So the clubs are sending, top league clubs are sending players to the lower league clubs to get adapted, so that they don't need to spend, top league team don't need to spend their time. And also the services, we opened our one, we call it playeraccelerator.com, and we are building this service in Finland and in Spain to give 1, 2, 3 months adaptation periods for the players, so that the culture shock is killed that way.
And then they are ready to face the...
Then they are ready to face the real, because clubs don't give this time.
Yeah, definitely. What would you think? What do you think the African players, especially who are coming to this part of Europe, the Swedes, the Norway, the Finlands, what do you think they should do to make them succeed, or how will they succeed in this part of the world?
When we start from the point that player is arrived, it means that somebody has seen a talent there.
Yes.
Get a contract. So the door is open then. This person who brought the player here believes, or this club believes, that this guy is better than our own players on this age. Better than Finnish player, better than Swedish player. Otherwise the player would not be there. So the more or less the chances are there. Yeah. Then begins the daily work. You need to work more than the locals. Every day foreign player need to be better. That happens for everybody, everywhere in the football world. And like I said earlier, talent opens one door, then everything is from the work. You need to be committed every day to do more than the locals, focus every day, try to also depict the culture, so that there is not cultural challenge, that club decision makers are not feeling that we can't handle this player for reason A or B, and try to be as local as possible as a football player, as a personality, and not to bring too much difficulties and too much challenges, because club decision makers, they are human beings. They
Yes.
don't want problems.
Yeah, of
they
course.
want easy guys.
Yeah, people that will just get used to the whole thing. All right. So what do you think about that, Cora?
Yeah, like I think he has actually said the bulk of whatever I want to say. Like the player needs to understand that when he's coming to a new place, he has to be very, very humble. Yeah, like the mentality of him thinking, okay, I'm the new Messi, I'm the new Ronaldo, I'm better than everybody. He has to keep it alone. And the only thing he has to work on is he must be ready to outwork everybody. Like spend more time in the gym, like do much more training than every other person. Like prove to them that you're better than them. Like I was talking to someone from Denmark. It was like the only player we'll take from you is a player that is better than our player. Like, and I was even talking to him about a Finnish player, so he's not even an African player. So it's like for you to actually have a chance in a foreign country, you have to be better than the young player. And that doesn't only mean in football ability alone. Like you have to be strong mentally, you have to be strong physically, you have to have a very good social mood that you don't destroy the dressing room too. So all these things you have to be at the top for you to excel.
Interesting. I think Austin you wanted to say something.
I want to add a few things before the 18th have said. One key thing I think for a player to be successful, aside from the talent and those basic things, aside from all those gifts he has, there's one important thing that I think players should do, and Marco can testify to that because I have the opportunity to work with him sometimes, and we brought that idea and it worked for us. A player that is coming, it doesn't matter where he's coming from, he has to have a basic orientation of where he's going to. He needs to know the weather.
This is funny because, hold on. This is funny because I think I don't know if you're guilty of this. I've been guilty of this.
Yeah.
My first time here, I don't know if Marco remembers, but I came here, it was in February. It was probably -10 at that time, and I came here with Bermuda shorts.
You can imagine, that's the thing. Because players, if you don't get that orientation, you get caught in an act that it takes time for you to, now to get back.
The culture, overshock, everything, weather.
Culture, you need to know the culture. You need to know, like, for example, I take Finland. When you're coming, you need to know the weather. You know that during this time, it's getting cold. In January, it's winter. It's heavy snow and stuff like that. You don't come here with your bedroom sleepers. I could remember some 3 years ago when I was in OPS, the boss of OPS, we went to the airport to pick a player, an African player coming from Nigeria. Unbelievable. He's coming with bedroom sleepers from the airport. Imagine. I was in the car and the man saw me. The boss turned and looked at me. And I said, I was like, I couldn't say what I was.
There's nothing to say.
Because I remember I used to work with Marco, and then when we are bringing players from Africa, he calls me. I have to give orientation for the player. What is this orientation all about? It's for you to know the basic culture, basic things in the
About
country.
the place you're going.
You're going to. The weather, you need to know. People coming from Africa, they are not used to AstroTurf. You come to play on AstroTurf, what do you expect? Football, the ball goes faster. You can compare that with grass. In Africa, we play with just tar. Sometimes we play on the tar pitch. How do you think you can survive? These are basic things you need to know. Then when you